To do a proper 2006 Lexus LX470 review, you really need to start with the Beastie Boys album, Licensed to Ill. If you can remember the album cover of that album, it was a passenger jet at full speed, smashing headlong into a sheer cliff. Something similar happened in the car industry in 1972. Smog emissions were mandatory on all cars sold in the United States, and it was a disaster for the car industry. The muscle car era of sexy, affordable, exotic, high-performance cars, just like that, was over, and the American car market didn't recover for many, many, many years. And when it did recover, it wasn't the American car companies who jumped to the front of the line. The year was 1990, the single most important year probably in the history of the car business. Japan came out with not just one, but an entire panoply of market-altering, even politics-altering cars. They were so significant. The Nissan had come out with an entire new Infiniti line. The all-new Q45 was faster than any sedan sold during the muscle car era. The Mitsubishi came out with a 3000 GT VR4 all-wheel drive that was more exotic than any car in the entire country of Italy. Nissan came out with the 300ZX, which was probably the most exciting small sports car maybe of all time. And things picked up from there. Acura came out with the NSX, Mazda came out with the twin-turbo RX-7. There were any number of thrilling high-performance cars all at once in the early 90s in the United States. But the one car that stood out, the one car that changed everything, was the Lexus. Lexus was a brand new product line in 1990, and the car they came out with was the LS400. It was quieter than a Rolls-Royce, faster than a Jaguar. It could do everything extremely well, and more importantly, it was the single best built car in the history of the car business in the world. And it changed the market because it was relatively inexpensive and everybody wanted one. And so by the mid-90s, American car manufacturers were in a panic that it was an absolute takeover of the Japanese brands of the American marketplace. And so the American government threatened a 100% tax on all Japanese luxury cars. So what did Toyota and Lexus do in response to that? They decided to go into the sport utility market. And in 1996, Lexus came out with the LX450, replaced 2 years later by this car right here, the LX470. This is a 2006. If you're in the market, I'm going to share a little bit about what's distinctive between the years, but the one you really want, the holy grail of the highest of high quality sport utilities sold in the whole wide world, is the 2006 Lexus LX470. And I can make a very, very strong case that this is the single best built sport utility of all time. But I'm going to pop the hood. We're going to start there. The first LX450 that came out in 1996 was based entirely on the Toyota LandCruiser. And if you've seen my reviews before, you're going to say, well, Joe, didn't you say the LandCruiser is just about the greatest thing in the whole wide world? I sure did. And imagine a luxury version of that fabulous car. Do you think that was popular? Yeah, it was so popular that dealers had to wait 2 months at a time just to get one. It was a massive, massive hit. In 1998, when this car came out as a second generation, it came out with a V8 engine replacing the inline 6. The designer of this car is Hiroya Kitazumi. He not only designed this car for the 1998 model year, but there were 2 body style refreshments throughout this series, and he redesigned them both. One great thing, if you're looking at any LX, is you need to know it does have a timing belt that needs to be replaced right around 90,000 miles. If you look, there's a timing belt replacement sticker on a great many of these, and this tells you exactly when and at how many miles the timing belt was replaced. The only way to know if a timing belt was replaced otherwise is to simply open up the engine, and if you're going to open up the engine, you might as well replace the timing belt because all the expense is in the service. The other thing you want to look at these cars is that the VIN stickers. The VIN stickers tell you that this is the original panel that came with this car originally. And you can go through every panel on the car, from the hood to the fenders, all the way around, and it's very easy to tell if this car's ever been in an accident. This particular car has not been in an accident. In fact, this particular car is in outstanding condition. Taking a look around, The LX470 rides on a 112.2-inch wheelbase. Well, that's about the same as most luxury cars. In fact, it's identical, mentioning Infiniti, to the Infiniti G35 and FX35 series, which are actually smaller cars. So it actually has a pretty small footprint overall. It does sit nice and tall. So getting in and out is just a little higher than the norm. It's not like a lifted truck, but I'm 6 feet tall, and it does take a little bit of a stretch to get in. But once you're in, you're greeted with a really beautiful interior. This car was completely redesigned inside and a little bit outside in 2003. So the 98 to 2002, that's one look. 2003 has a totally different interior, which is much more opulent. 2006, that's what this one is, has a new engine altogether. That V8 engine has variable valve timing. The horsepower on this car went from 230 to 235 to 275. And so the perfect one, the most ideal one you can get, is actually this one right here, the 2006, because it has the updated interior with that 275 horsepower engine. Taking a look in back, well, despite the smallish overall footprint, there's actually a lot of room in the back. And so I had the seat pretty far back in the front. I still have tons and tons of room back here, and plenty of headroom even if you're 6 feet tall. So if you have 5 adults in these first 2 rows, that's not going to be a problem at all. Going to the way back, well, you'll see that this is set up to tow. And if you see a factory tow receptacle, you'll know that this is set up to tow 6,500 pounds. So it's actually a powerful companion if you have a boat. It has the twin door opening with an unusual jump seat orientation. Now, I'm the first to admit, we've owned this exact same truck in our lives, and that jump seat is a big pain in the butt. It's a pain to fold down the seats. It's a pain to take the seats in and out, but it does serve a couple of purposes. One, with the seats up and out, it gives you a ton more storage for the real world. Also, if you know in advance that you're going to have people in the back often, just leave it as a conventional third row seat. If you know that there's never going to be anybody in the back, these are both removable. They just slide on that chassis and pop right on out, and you can just leave them in the garage. So as complicated as they are, they do offer a lot more flexibility. Taking a look at the profile on this car, well, Diamond White Pearl is kind of the color to get in these cars. They actually have ground synthetic pearls in the paint. And so in a place like Hawaii, it's a very, very popular color to have in any kind of car because it's not metallic. Metallic shavings oxidize as the years go by, and the paint gets thinner and thinner and thinner until it exposes the bare metal. This car, even in a harsh environment like us here in Hawaii, is going to look like this for years and years to come. The car may fall apart, but the paint's still going to look fantastic. Let's jump back inside and turn it on. Now, one great thing about the Lexus is that it does come with a Mark Levinson stereo system. Initially, you could get these with a Nakamichi stereo system, which was the best stereo that money could buy for a car. The Mark Levinson supplanted that, and it became the best stereo system in any car that money could buy, and that's what this car has. Now, one thing you'll notice, power tilt, power telescopic steering. Listen to the motor of the steering column. This car is almost 13 years old, and the steering column motor makes absolutely no sound of any kind. You listen to the engine itself. Again, this is a 13-year-old car. It is absolutely silent, and that's with the doors open and the hood popped up. There was actually a feature, this car doesn't have it. You'll see every once in a while, you'll see a cutout right here, a different color in the windshield. If you see that, it actually had heads-up display with night vision. That came out in 2003. It was a really far-out feature for its day. I would shy away from that feature if I was looking for one of these, because if you get a crack in your windshield, it's just ungodly expensive to replace. The quality of the wood, the quality of the plastic, the quality of the leather. This is a car with 118,000 miles on it, and it looks like brand new. It drives like brand new. It feels nicer and more expensive.
Happy holidays.
Great stereo system. It feels nicer and more expensive than brand new cars that cost $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 and more. It is one of the great sport utilities ever made. In fact, it's one of the great cars ever made. If you could find a Diamond White Pearl, 2006 particularly, you have found one of the holy grail vehicles of the entire automobile industry. This is one of the single most desirable sport utilities of all time. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My name's Joe Tunney. You can reach me anytime at joeloveshawaii@gmail.com.